She's not motivated by romantic love. The love of her father is what drives this film. The honor of her family and trying to protect her family is what motivates Mulan, and it's a very refreshing take. Hello and welcome in. I am the Eddie McCabe and you are watching the Disney Princess film series here on Evenings with Eddie. Today we'll be covering 1998's Mulan, one of the last films in the Renaissance era of the Disney animated feature films. Recently watching this, I was reminded just how fantastic this movie actually is. I think where last week's episode we dealt with Pocahontas, and I felt that Pocahontas felt very flat. I thought she was very surface level and very two-dimensional, and nothing really happens in her film, and her motivation was just, I love John Smith. So having this movie have a lot more personality, you know, while Mulan kind of falls in love in the end, which is weird and problematic, you know, the motivation for the character and the reason why she's doing the things she's doing are not boy related, which is very, very refreshing inside one of these Disney princess films. It feels like we started to get there with Jasmine, took a huge step back with Moana, but we're with Pocahontas. And not Moana. Moana definitely doesn't find a man. But back with Mulan, you know, she's not motivated by love. Well, she's not motivated by romantic love. The love of her father is what drives this film. The honor of her family and trying to protect her family is what motivates Mulan, and it's a very refreshing take on a hero, on one of these Disney princess heroes. The film starts where Mulan is not really that great and trying to become a bride. I always thought it was a little weird because the beginning of this film, everything about it just screams Japanese culture as opposed to Chinese culture. And now I could be wrong, but that was just the vibe I was getting. Everything about it just seemed like, you know, very, very pinpointed Japanese culture as opposed to Chinese culture. But, you know, I could be wrong. The film progresses and has arguably the best song in the entirety of the Disney catalog. Donny Osmond singing I'll Make a Man Out of You is arguably one of the best Disney songs ever. And you can at me, go into the comments. I want to hear from you. If you disagree, what is the best Disney animated feature film song? I want to hear it. So let me know. But that song is awesome. And it's very weird because this movie has a bunch of songs in the first and second act and then none in the third, which is very weird. It's just like we get halfway through the movie and then boom, we're just not a musical anymore. We're just gonna go straight forward. The entirety of this film shows Mulan impersonating a male soldier, and she's playing that dangerous game of like, will they, won't they get caught, or, you know, trying to hide their identity. And then they find out after she saves the entirety of China, or so everybody thinks, and they find out she's a girl and they immediately hate her. And it's just very, very weird that, you know, all of a sudden they're like, oh, I know that you just saved us from like the Huns and everything, but you're a woman, so screw you, you know? And so like that was very weird, especially because there's just a lot of like friendship that ends up getting thrown out the window, which doesn't feel like that's how people would act, but I guess that's, you know, that's the story, right? That's the story we're telling. So, you know, on that level, it felt very forced, but you know, towards the end, Mulan has to come in and she ends up saving the emperor, and it's really heroic and really kind of cool. Having her fall in love in the end was very weird. It's very weird because you have to acknowledge that the connection between her and her commanding officer, they had to have had a romantic relationship or connection before they found out she was a she, you know, when he thought he was a he. So there's some like weird things that we have to talk about that this movie just doesn't want to talk about, because it's okay. I mean, if you wanted to have a homosexual relationship, that's perfectly fine. But the fact that it's just this weird thing that it was just like, yeah, now that I know you're a girl, I'm in love with you. And it's just like, well, that's weird no matter how you slice it. And I'm glad it all worked out in the end, but like, weird. Really, really weird. So I think that from a film standpoint, aside from that real big plot hole there, this movie is great. It's absolutely fantastic. It tells a great heroic story that isn't driven by the fact that I want a boyfriend, I want a love, interest of some kind, and I'm gonna give up everything for a boy. Mulan doesn't do any of those things. Her kind of falling in love at the end of the movie is just like oh, this is Disney and that has to happen sort of thing, as opposed to a warranted, needed, earned love connection. But I want to hear from you. What did you think of Mulan? Did you like it? Have you seen it recently? Let me know down in the comments below. Or you can find me on any form of social media at the Eddie McCabe. I'm found on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. I'm on all of them. So you can find me, and I want to hear exactly what you had to think. So next week, we will be diving into a 3D animated feature, which is going to be new for this. So that's pretty exciting. And so stay tuned, and I'll see you real soon.